Alrighty, welcome back. This is still News Lens right here on omoluwabi, the 7.7 FM. Like I told you earlier, we'll be reviewing some newspaper headlines this morning. And of course, I've got four newspapers with me this morning. I've got the Vanguard newspaper, The Punch, the Nigerian Tribune, and also the Guardian newspaper this morning. So without much ado, we'll be reading out the headlines first. Right after which, like I said earlier, we'll be bringing on my analyst on board to come and analyze some of the stories with me this morning. You also get to be a part of the conversation too. Like I said, when we open the phone lines to join the conversation, and then you can drop your comments at Facebook at omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM this morning. We will read them. We will then definitely pick your phone lines when the time comes to pick phone calls this morning. Let's start with the Vanguard newspaper this morning with the banner headline here on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper saying distress as harsh economy forces shutdown of over 50 firms. The story has a rider that says 80% orders in low capacity utilization, over 100,000 employees thrown into job markets. Labour begs federal government to intervene. That story there, you can get full details of it on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, saying distress as harsh economic forces shut down of over 50 firms. And it also has some rider here saying 80% of orders in low capacity utilization, over 100,000 employees thrown into job markets. Labour begs FG to intervene. Can get full details of that story, like I said, on page 38 of the Vanguard newspaper this Tuesday morning. All right, and still on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, we have this one saying Tinubu commissions 30 hybrid CNG buses. Tinubu commissions 30 hybrid CNG buses. Can get full details of that story on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And still from the Vanguard newspaper, we have this one saying alleged 5.4 billion naira shares. CBN FBN Holdings asks courts to dismiss Barbican Capital suits. Alleged 5.4 billion naira shares. CBN FBN Holdings asks courts to dismiss Barbican Capital suits. Story as a rider saying cites inability of plaintiff to provide necessary documents to substantiate its shareholdings. That story there is on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Still from the Vanguard newspaper, we have this one saying 2024 WASI credit passes in English maths lower than 2023 figure. Can get full details of that report there on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Catholic bishops to federal government save Nigerians from multi-dimensional poverty. Catholic bishops to federal government save Nigerians from multi-dimensional poverty. Can get full details of that story there on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Shaibu resumes as Edo deputy governor. Shaibu resumes as Edo deputy governor. He is an impostor. That's coming from the governor of Edo State there, saying Shaibu is an impostor. Can get full details of that story there on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Southeast monarchs, clergy decry ethnic profiling of Igbo. Southeast monarchs, clergy decry ethnic profiling of Igbo. Can get full details of that story on page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And then we have this one saying we will engage market leaders to check exploitative pricing. We will engage market leaders to check exploitative pricing. That's coming from the FCCP boss. Can get full details of that story on page 26 of the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And that's all we have from the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Very quickly, let's move on to the Guardian newspaper this morning with the banner headline here on the front page of the Guardian newspaper saying National Broadband Plan. Federal government may miss 2025 targets, or as 136 million Nigerians lack internet access. National Broadband Plan. Federal government may miss 2025 targets, as 136 million Nigerians lack internet access. Can get full details of that story there on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. You can also see some infographics here representing the data and the analysis of as regards internet access in Nigeria this morning. Okay, moving forward, still on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we have this one saying court throws out application to ban Nigerians from further protest against hunger. Court throws out application to ban Nigerians from further protest against hunger. That story there is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Still from the Guardian newspaper, we have this one saying Tinubu rolls out locally made CNG buses to ease transportation. Tinubu rolls out locally made CNG buses to ease transportation. You can get full details of that story on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Nigeria bound vessels pay $620 million war risk insurance premium. Nigeria-bound vessels pay $620 million war risk insurance premium. Can get full details of that story on page 22 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Shaibu resumes as Edo State's deputy governor. Shaibu resumes as Edo State deputy governor. That story there is on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. We have this one saying NYSC invalidates certificates of IOI Unica graduates. So, okay, let's take that again. NYSC invalidates certificates of 101 Unica graduates. NYSC invalidates certificates of 101 Unica graduates. Can get full details of that story there on page 8 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Labour vows to picket states on failure to implement new minimum wage. Labour vows to picket states on failure to implement minimum wage. That story there is on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper this lovely Tuesday morning. And that's all we have from the Guardian newspaper. Let's check the Nigerian Tribune this morning with the banner headline on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune saying how Nigeria walked in food crisis by experts. How Nigeria walked into food crisis by experts. That story has some riders here. This one saying identifies insecurity as major disincentive to farmers. Identify insecurity as major disincentive to farmers. And this one saying blame anchor borrowers program. Insincerity of state governments, state governments, investments, lack of subsidy on fertilizer, says Elite conspiracy killed OBJ. Jonathan's cassava initiative. I'll take that story again, saying how Nigeria walked into food crisis by experts. That story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, and this one is saying identifying insecurity as major disincentive to farmers, and saying blame anchor borrowers program. Insincerity of state governments, investments, lack of subsidy on fertilizer. Say lighter conspiracy killed OBJ, Jonathan's cassava initiative. That story there is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. WASI 215,267 candidates results withheld. That's coming from the West African Examination Council. They released the major results yesterday. They're saying 267 candidates results were withheld. They're saying 72% obtained credits above in 5 credits and above in 5 mandatory subjects. That story there is on page 2 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Tinubu commissions 20 hybrid CNG buses, says they are economic necessity. Tinubu commissions 20 hybrid CNG buses, says they are economic necessity. Can get full details of that story there on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Zenith Bank targets global operation expansion with 286.38 billion naira hybrid offer. Zenith Bank targets global operation expansion with 286.38 billion naira hybrid offer. I can get full details of that story on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Still on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, we have this one saying finally Ladoja gets beaded crown, gets new title as Oba. Finally, Ladoja gets a beaded crown, gets new title as Oba. You can get full details of that story on page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Do not forget we are streaming live on Facebook this morning. We are streaming live on Facebook at omoluwabi, the 7.7 FM. Can go check us out there, and you see the front pages of the Nigerian dailies there this morning. We are streaming live, and we just posted some of the front pages of the Nigerian dailies this morning as we are streaming live this morning. All right, moving on. Still from the Nigerian Tribune this morning, we have this one saying Edo government Shaibu fight gets messier. Edo government Shaibu fight gets messier. Can get full details of that story on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. How we killed our boss, demand staff of Ondo's caretaker confess. Okay. How we killed our boss, demand staff of Ondo caretaker confess. Okay, can get full details of that story on page 27 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Police confirm kidnap of 2 Chinese in Ogun. Police confirm kidnap of 2 Chinese in Ogun. Can get full details of that story on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And we have this one saying court sacks Rivers APC chairman. Court sacks Rivers APC chairman, and the writer here says acts as exploitation rocks APP secretariat in Port Harcourt. as exploration rocks APP Secretariat in Port Harcourt. Can get full details of that story on page 21 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. I will develop Yewa North LG to thriving economy in 3 years. I will develop Yewa North LG to thriving economy in 3 years. That's coming from Akinwande, LG aspirant there. That's on page 4. You can get full details of that story if you are interested. Probably you are from Yewa in Ogun State. Someone is speaking here saying he will develop the Yewa North LG in 3 years. Let's go check the full details of that story on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And then finally, let's check the Punch newspaper this morning. With this one as a banner headline saying the federal government, FG, governors reach 3 months agreement on LG allocations. We have this one saying on the front page of the Punch newspaper saying federal government, governors reach 3 months agreement on LG allocations. And the story has a writer that says government worried about 1,919 error when LG students pay teachers. Okay. All right, I get this again. 1,000 government worried about 1990 era when LG's couldn't pay teachers workers' salaries. That's coming from officials there. Can get full details of that story on page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Protest inflation top as council states meets today. Protest inflation top as council states meets today. Can get full details of that story on page 27 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Marketers project 600 naira per litre for Dangote petrol. Marketers project 600 naira per litre for Dangote petrol. Can get full details of that story on page 10 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Tinubu unveils 30 hybrid CNG buses. Tinubu unveils 30 hybrid CNG buses. You can get full details of that story right there on page 19 of the Punch newspaper this morning. 215,267 results withheld for malpractices, says WAEC. 215,267 results withheld for malpractices, says WAEC. You can get full details of that story on page 27 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have this one still on the front page of the Punch newspaper saying Zenith Bank begins 290 billion naira capital raise. Zenith Bank begins 290 billion naira capital raise. That story there, can get it from page 24 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We have this one saying Russian flag, please move suspect to Abuja, planned sedition charges. Russian flag, please move suspect to Abuja, planned sedition charges. Can get full details of that story on page 26 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And still from the Punch newspaper, we have this one saying Mohbad's family opposes late singer's anniversary events. Mohbad's family opposes late singer's anniversary events. Can get full details of that story on pages 4 and 5 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And lastly, here we have this one saying revenue generating agencies fail to remit 4 trillion naira. That's coming from the FACC. Revenue generating agencies fail to remit 4 trillion naira. That's coming from the FACC. Can get full details of that story over on that story on page 20 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And that's all we have from the Punch newspaper and also from the headlines this morning. All right, before I introduce my analyst this morning, we'll be going on a short commercial break. And when we return, we'll be analyzing and talking about some of these stories this morning. Do not forget, we are streaming live on Facebook this morning. You can check us out on Facebook at omoluwabi the 7.7 FM. Check us out on Facebook at omoluwabi the 7.7 FM. You can also be a part of the program where the time comes. I'll put the phone lines for you to join the conversation via the studio lines this morning. All right, let's go on a short commercial break. And when we return, News Lens will continue and then we'll review some of these headlines together this morning. Do not go anywhere.
Voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
At break time, when my champ needs to keep going, he's going to need his favorite snack, made with the goodness of malt, milk, cocoa, and crunchy Niger-grown maize, containing calcium, iron, and fiber.
Break
time is crunch time. So give your chest this delicious crunchy delight to keep them winning all day. Milo and a snack of future champions. Milo!
Hello?
Hello there. I'm at the hospital right now because the kills are seriously ill. I've been on a long queue and the doctor is here to attend to me. I don't know what to do again.
You know what? How about the numbers I gave you while leaving?
Oh, the e-Dokita numbers?
Yes.
Call them right away. They will attend to you immediately.
Hello?
Darling, just like magic. Junior is playing. Even Princess is eating like an adult.
You know I've told you to calm down. Our family is covered with e-Dokita Premium Plan. With eDokita, you have access to healthcare at your fingertips. Stop wasting your productive hours while waiting in the clinic for doctor. Subscribe today to any of eDokita plans and enjoy online chat and call consult, laser therapy, medical outreach, and home care services. Simply dial 0704-714-2000 or 0701-000-8670. Log on to www.edokita.com or visit us at eDokita, number 2 Ocean Street, New Bodija, Ibadan. eDokita, inspiring wellness.
Hello, with everybody for you.
My Sabi people, how una dey? Na Sabi people dey listen to Sabi Radio. Omoluwabi Radio 87.7 FM, na dem be Sabi Radio.
Omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
You're welcome back. It's still Newslands right here on Omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. We'll be going straight into the analysis of some of the stories that we have this morning. And I have with me in the studio this morning, Kayode Ajani. Good morning, Kayode.
Good morning, Tayo. Good morning, our listeners.
All right. Once again, we are streaming live on Facebook this morning at Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. You can go watch us live on Facebook this morning at Omoluwabi 87.7 FM. Drop your comment too on Facebook this morning. We'll read your comments when they come in this morning. We have a lot of stories to talk about this morning, but then we'll pick them one after the other as we move this lovely Tuesday morning. All right, let's start with this one. Saying how Nigeria walked into food crisis by experts. And the story is on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning, saying identify insecurity as major disincentive to farmers. And since blame anchor borrowers program, insincerity of state governments investments and lack of subsidy on fertilizer. This one also says Elite conspiracy killed OBJ Jonathan's cassava initiative. I'll take that again, saying how Nigeria walked into food crisis by experts, saying that identifying insecurity as major disincentive to farmers, and also saying blaming anchor borrowers program and the insincerity of state governments investments, and this one saying lack of a subsidy on fertilizer. Says Elite conspiracy killed OBJ Jonathan's cassava initiative. Kayode Ajani, very quickly, let's talk about food insecurity in Nigeria, and then as relating to the current food inflation that we have in Nigeria. They've highlighted, Nigerian Tribune highlighted some of the major factors contributing to food insecurity in Nigeria, saying in identifying insecurity as major disincentive. Let's start with that. I've always been talking about this, Kayode Ajani. Food insecurity, in farmers are insecurity and faced by our farmers on a daily basis, and then a lot of conversations have been going on around that, saying let's find a way. And then yesterday, it was in the news that the federal government created forest rangers to storm our farms, to storm our bushes, and then make sure that there's security on that side. What's your take on this, Kayode?
Thank you so much. I also go in line with the thought of those experts, because if you should look at our economic trend over the years, especially when it relates to food security, we have never had it bad this way, sincerely speaking. Yeah, in fact, over the years, it is not as if this is the first time we will be having food insecurity, inflation, and so on. But it has never been this bad. It has never been this bad, compared to previous governments. And when looking at it critically, we are going to understand that, yes, these are issues that are obvious. And then one of the leading factor, under the in the list is the insecurity of farmers, especially at the time when we have, farmers, elders, clashes, and so on, This has actually led to many farmers leaving the farm. So it is a very obvious issues that the nation as a whole has been battling with over the years. But unfortunately, it has never been this bad.
Unfortunately, it has never been this bad. Let's check another point as regards that airline there talking about the issue of insecurity in the country. And this one saying insincerity of state government investments is also a major cause here. They're talking about the insincerity on the part of state governments. Major ministry, we've had so many initiatives being embarked upon by various state governors at various quarters. We've had the revitalization of some farm settlements and the likes like that. But then, one of the experts is saying this morning that most of these state governors are not sincere. At the end of the day, you come and then say you spend a lot of money, and then we still will not find results. You don't get the result at the end of the day after spending billions of naira on revitalizing agriculture and the likes like that. It's saying you spend so amounts to revitalize some certain farm settlements. Then you get there and say, what are we producing? What exactly have we spent the money on? Akayode Ajani, what's your take on this?
Yes, thank you so much. Well, in that regard, I think one of the issues that we have as a country, it is the problem of continuity. It is a very serious issue. Because if you should look at the trend, just as I stated in my introductory part, that we have never had it bad this way. Because in the past, we have a lot of different, agricultural intervention. Yes, but successive government have actually find it hard to actually sustain some of these policies. And that is why we are here today. So going by your statement, yes, if you should look at some of these previous budgets too, you will see state governments even at the center too, investing billions into agriculture, especially a particular phrase, and that is mechanized farming. They have been using the word for we've
always been talking about the issue of mechanized farming, and get to our farms, you realize that there's nothing mechanized about our farms.
That's the fact. When we are talking about mechanized farming and we are still discussing about we not having that capacity to still feed ourselves, so what is now the essence of introducing modern techniques into farming?
Kade,
we are deceiving ourselves.
I was watching a program. The Kaduna state governments are distributing fertilizers and some tractors and the likes from farm implements to farmers yesterday. It was broadcast live on a TV station yesterday, and we were watching it in the office yesterday. And then someone came on board and said, "Will these farmers really get these things? Because you only see these things on paper. We see them see them on the screen, and at the end of the day, you get to the farms that they said these things should be used. You don't get them. You get not to see them. You see farmers doing farming at this age and time with cutlass and and then you ask the question, what's really going on?"
Yes, you see, I will actually address this point in two ways.
Okay.
The first aspect is that the issue of local government is still going to come in, because just as you have rightly mentioned, you see all the tractors that were displayed by the state government and so on will actually end up in the domain of big investors in quote. And majority of these big investors are not producing for local consumption. That is the problem, and I've been saying this. I have all the facts. We don't have food sufficiency in Nigeria, and we are exporting it out. For what purpose? I think that is one of the area that a sincere government need to address. We are not saying that you should not export just to ensure that we have a balanced exchange rate and so on. But at the same time, internally, we do not have this food sufficiency yet, and we are exporting out. So I want to establish the fact that yes, some people will get that tractors, but these are the big men in farming. and that are not producing for local consumption.
All right, let's move on to another story this morning. We have this one from the Punch newspaper saying federal government governors reach 3-month agreement on local government allocation. Federal government governors reach 3 months agreement on local government allocations. Let's get a brief insight into that story. It's saying the federal government and the state governors may have agreed a 3 months moratorium on local government autonomy over concerns arising from its impact on salary payments and operational viability, the Punch learns on Monday. Development means local governments may wait till October before the implementation of the new direct payments into their respective accounts. The Supreme Court on July 11, 2024 gave a landmark judgment affirming the financial autonomy of the 774 local governments in the country and ruled that governors could no longer control funds meant for the councils. The apex court also directed the Accountant General of the Federation to pay LG allocations directly to their accounts as it declared the non-remittance of funds by the 36 states is unconstitutional. Under the former President Muhammadu Buhari, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit issued a regulation effective from June 1, 2019, which banned transactions on states and local government joint accounts. Funds were sent directly to the accounts of the local governments. It also limited cash withdrawals from local governments' accounts to a maximum amount of 500,000 naira per day. With this story goes on and on like that, but then let's get the main point there. The federal government and the states have agreed to a 3-month moratorium on local government's autonomy over concerns arising from its impact on salary payments and operational viability. Saying the local government's chairman will have to wait till October before this take effect. Kayode Ajani, pushing this forward again, or what do you think? Or do you think it is necessary for us to have a balance before we start pushing ahead? Or what's your take on this?
Yes, thank you so much. And I also want to say that we are wasting much time on this issue. Let me say, state governors are actually, spending more time on this issue. Because, and some have actually alleged them of, maybe because of the fact that, they have been spending local government money before now. But that being said, my own observation is that before now, even when at the time of delivering that judgment, of course, many state governors claim that they are yet to receive a certified true copy as at then. But it was at that point that we all knew that the Supreme Court actually gave them 90 days. So this news around it is not new. That is the point. It's not new. It was stated right from that time that yes, they have a window of 90 days for the Accountant General and the local government and the state government to actually perfect their papers and how the local government will be receiving their funds directly. And that also raised concerns why state governors are actually still beating around this matter. Of course, we might not know as they do. They are the one in their various government offices and so on. But at the same time, I think what concerns us as a people is to also ensure that these local governments have a kind of a framework to work with. Yes, and then I think that is why they are giving them this.
Some governors have come out to say, can these local governments really do this work? Like just mentioned the framework, and I think it's not a big deal. What is governance? Is it rocket science? As a matter of fact, rocket science, people even do it and they play out their responsibility and
try and there go. So they will get it one day.
Is it rocket science? And they are saying some local government may not be able to pay salaries, may not be able to pay teacher salaries, and I'm asking the questions. Does the governor have a tool that makes him better than a local government chairman in terms of administration and terms of revenue generation? And then we've also appointed the facts out over time that even some of the local governments have the viability of making more money than state governments at times. And so what's the point? Just like you said, probably we should create a framework around it and say, okay, these are the ways and the way things should be done. No local government chairman should be owing some certain set of people's salaries or the likes like that. What's your take? Or do you just think probably we should leave the responsibility of paying salaries and some other things to the state governors?
Thank you, Tayo. You see, even the fact is that even the framework is even there. That's the fact. Because when we are talking about framework. When we are talking about policies, these are more of guidelines. And the guidelines has already been stated in the constitution. So what are we now? So every one of us, we are just working around that information because majority of us are not actually satisfied with it, especially the state governors. And then away from that, so I also want to state that, just as you have rightly mentioned, if state governments can borrow money, maybe international organization, local funding, and so on, what is stopping local government to also assess such grants for their local development? Yes, you see, just as we have also been saying again that some states are not viable. It's not as if some of these states do not have resources to be viable. So I think that is one of the qualities that we citizens must also look out for when we are electing leaders. Now at the grassroots level, what do you have? Do you have the capacity to develop your local community? It is not as if advanced countries too. It is not as if they also plug some of these foreign grants that they give us. No, they don't plug it from the trees. That's the fact. So they also work for it. So why can't we also also have innovations that would generate money for us? I think that is another angle that we should actually watch out for when it comes to electing leaders.
All right, I know, like I was saying, at some point, you realize that most of these are state governors. You realize that they even go into some of the resources, some of the areas where local governments are supposed to be generating funds.
That's the point.
And then you ask the question: is this the responsibility of the state governor, state government rather, to be?
That's why I said that the framework is already there. They have their jurisdiction. In fact, even the constitution already states their basic means of generating revenue. Look at taxes.
All right, let's move on this morning and let's check some other stories this morning. Talking about the president this morning, we've always been hearing about the CNG buses, but then people have been asking, where will the president unveil these CNG buses? And yesterday, the president at the State House commissioned 20 hybrid CNG buses. That's according to the Nigerian Tribune, says they are economic necessity. Tinubu commissions 20 hybrid CNG buses, says their economic necessity. That story there is on page 3 rather of the Nigerian Tribune. The story here is also on the page. The Nigerian Tribune reports 20. The Punch newspaper reports 30 this morning, saying Tinubu unveils 30 hybrid CNG buses. You can get full details of that on page 19 of the Punch newspaper this morning. The Vanguard newspaper also reports the same thing. The Guardian report the same thing. The Guardian says that Tinubu rolls out locally made CNG buses to ease transportation. Can get full details of that on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Kayode Ajani, CNG buses coming to the street of Nigeria 2030, whichever way. What's your take on this? They are saying it to ease transportation. The president is saying this is an economic necessity at this point in time. What's your take on it?
Thank you so much. Well, let me start by asking that, CNG is compressed natural gas. Okay. Now, how much will people now be buying? Is it per liter? Is it per kg and so on? That the cooking gas that we are currently using, we all know the cost now. Despite the fact that it is our resources right from here. My own concern is that except federal government cannot mislead some of us. That's the fact.
In what way?
This issue of CNG buses, electric vehicles, these are discussion from their climate change summits that they attended. And then it is also a way to assess foreign loan and foreign grant. It is a condition. That's the fact. All these things are not being done in the best interest of the people.
But then there's
either the per liter or the kg to feed their.
Kayode, aside from the price, there have been this argument that it is more economically friendly and it's more weather friendly. It's more friendly to the climate than
that is my point, Tayo, and that was why I stated that this is a result or this is a take home from the climate change summit. It is not in the best interest of Nigerians because even though if it is climate friendly, at what cost to Nigerians? That is the point.
Okay, aside from at
what cost?
Aside from it being climate friendly, there's been an argument that it is more economical than the normal petrol and diesel vehicles we drive around, and then they say they see and buy. Probably if you buy, I don't know how it works. I don't know how it operates yet. Probably if you buy some certain kg, I don't know how the operations goes.
Tayo, it is a function of time. At a point, Tayo, cooking gas was very, very less compared to kerosene. At that point, too, there were advocacy on we should do away with stove and then firewood as a means of cooking. Then we now reach a point whereby even the cost of gas was no longer affordable at a point before. I think at a time now there's a kind of a reduction. But the point I'm trying to make is that all these things, our government must be sincere when it comes to Nigerians, because all these policies should not be a kind of a dictation from our, should I still call them colonial master? Yes.
Kayode, do you say the dictation from the let's just speak the reality this morning. Whether I like it or not, this thing is climate friendly. Because whether it's a dictation or not, they've gone ahead of us in that line, in terms of economic technological innovations and the like that. Whether we like it or not, many people will still argue with you that those are the best type of cars or type of transportation means that we need at this point in time.
Yes, I'm not saying it's not the best, but my concern is that will it still be affordable? At a point, the 3 kg cooking gas, when they all started all the shenanigans around it, was not up to 500. That's the point I'm making. As at now, you cannot get a kg of gas for nothing less than 151617. That's the point I'm making. And then at a point in time too, it was almost over 2,000 in this country.
All right, let's move on this morning. All right, we are going to check another story this morning. This one saying, protest inflation top as Council of State meets today. Kayode Ajani, Council of State. There's going to be a meeting of the Council of State today, and then that story is on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. If you're interested in getting the full details as regards that story, get a copy of the Punch newspaper and flip over to page 27. What are your expectations from that meeting, Kayode? We just finished an end bad governance, end hunger, end everything protest that they did just about just concluded last week, and then. We've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about the CNG buses. We've talked about food inflation, food crisis in Nigeria. The Council of State meeting will be holding today. What are your expectations? What do you expect from them today?
Yes, thank you. Well, I think the first one that actually concerns majority of Nigerians is the issue of power sector. Yes, so I think it is important that we have a clear position of the state of things when it comes to the power sector. And at the same time, Nigerians are also waiting to hear from some state governors as regards their approval, when it comes as regards the minimum wage. Yes, and then thirdly, which is very most important, is also the issue of security. Yes, so I think that, but you see, another concerns that I also have is that all these councils having different headings, although they are a necessity in democracy, but they hardly add to decision making. That is the problem. So at the end of the day, we just end up, spending, millions or billions to actually entertain them, logistic and so on. So personally, let's just hope that it will be fruitful at this point. But on a personal note, I do not see any good thing coming from such gathering.
All right, so Yazo Castillo had his opinion there. He said he doesn't see any good thing coming from such gathering. All right, we'll be going on a very short commercial break now. When we return, we'll pick your phone calls and read your comments on Facebook. We'll check one or two headlines again before we leave on the show this morning. Do not go anywhere. Still Newslands right here on omoluwabi, the 7.7 FM. Go and drop your comment on Facebook. We'll read them when we get back.
The Voice The voice of integrity, omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
I will show you. Don't do that.
Sweetheart, no matter what you do, we show you love. So you can show more love to everyone.
Mom, how do you show more love to everyone? I will show you love.
Show some more love today with 4 more packs of your favorite Indomie noodles in Indomitable and Super Pack cartons. Also, each Indomitable pack is now 200 naira, while Super Pack is now 350 naira. So hurry now. Offer valid till stock lasts.
This is calling on all telecom subscribers who are yet to link their national identity number with their SIM to visit the nearest office of their service provider with a valid name for verification and linkage, or risk losing the lines permanently. Your service provider will confirm your national identification number in the database of the National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, and help recover the bad number after successfully linking your name with your SIM. A link will then be sent to you to automatically link your NIN with your phone number. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC.
When it's bright and early, get your breakfast right. You need all the nutrients that will hold you tight. Stay in power, you find it all in peak. Every move you make, Peak's got you all the goes on.
Power on every morning with our Peak protein breakfast to make the most of every day. Peak, reach for your peak. Fresh news, best talk, hot music, where else?
Omoluwabi 87.7 FM.
All right, you're welcome back. It's still Newslands right here on omoluwabi 7.7 FM. And like I told you earlier, we'll be opening the phone lines for you to join the conversation this morning. You can join the discourse, you can join the conversation this morning. The studio lines are open 07047 007999, 07047 07999. You can also call us on 08053888933. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
This is Ruth calling from Malakia.
All right, so you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. It's good to know that Babala Georgia has finally been crowned as Oba in Ibadan, just like the way others did. Because I believe this will help to maintain our cultural heritage in Ibadan land as far as Olubadan too is concerned. I will only implore them to continue to allow peace to reign among them so that they can support the good job Governor Shemakide is doing in bringing sustainable development in the state. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. All right. Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and where are you coming from? Okay. Please make
God bless the analysts in the studio. Regarding the Otonoruba that became the Royal Majesty yesterday, I think it's record development in Oyo State. That means all Olubadan in council have been turned to Oba in council. So the news said that was produced by our state government because this was internal issue within the Urban Council, which all agree. That ministry volume that Ibadan land, you have Imperial Majesty, you have Royal Majesty, and it's a good one and development for us. So all our traditional rulers, it's time for them to allow peace and harmony to thrive in this state with the effort of our state government. So to continue to guide our leaders, right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've made that point. All right, you can join the conversation this morning. Studio lines are still open 07047 007999, 07047 007999. You can also call us on 08053888933, 08053888933. We'll pick your calls this morning when they come in. All right, Let's move on to check some other stories this morning. We are still reviewing some of the headlines that made it through to the Nigerian dailies this morning. I would love us to check out two stories as regards the former governor. We're getting a beaded crown, and then the issues, the saga surrounding the Edo State government at this point in time. The courts have asked the former the impeached deputy governor to come back to office. But then the governor is saying the deputy governor is an imposter. And I'm asking the question, who should it take, who should be in the office at this point in time? Who should know who is an imposter, and who should know who is legally right to be a deputy governor in Edo State? Let's start from Edo State, Kayode Ajani. This one says, Edo government, Shaibu fights gets messier. Edo government, Shaibu fights gets messier. That story is on page 20 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And then the Guardian newspaper report saying Shaibu resumes as Edo State deputy governor. Can get full details of that story on page 8 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. And then we have the same story here, almost on the front pages of all the newspaper. I want to get the place. Okay, on Vanguard newspaper, the same story there. But then, the Edo governor is saying the governor is an imposter. Shaibu resumes as Edo deputy governor. He is an impostor. That's coming from the government of Edo State. Kayode Ajani. Let's pick this call very quickly before I take your point on that. Hello, good morning. Hello. Okay, I guess we lost that call already. You can still call us back 07047007999 08053888933. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello. Let me take your thought as regards the issue of Edo State.
Yes, thank you so much. You see, an average Nigeria is an oppressor. That's the fact. No, by the time an average Nigeria that is naturally an oppressor now gets power, such person will now become an emperor. And that is why it seems many people have actually described our governors as emperors, because if things do not favor them, they also rush to court. And now you have a court order, you are saying another thing. It is quite unfortunate. I just hope that our judiciary will also have their kind of previous dignity that they used to have, so and ensure that violators of court orders are seriously, deal with.
Is it the responsibility of the judiciary to make sure the violators of court orders are being brought to book? Because already the judiciary...
That is because of the conflicting court orders that will have been having in the past.
In this case...
this is a threat to their own dignity too.
In this case, the judiciary they've made a judgment already. They've made a pronunciation saying that that Shaibu should go back to his seat as a deputy governor, but then it is the Edo State governor.
But you know that the state governors can tomorrow get another order saying that.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. These are the okay.
All right, please make your point.
Yeah, it's a good thing to know that the federal government is releasing CNG buses so that this will release the transportation. So, and it will also complement Omitutum bus in your state. So we are expecting it and we are waiting for it. We can't wait to have it in our dear state. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for being a part of the program. All right, so let's move on to the last story this morning. It's probably the last, but not the least, very important to the people of Ibadan. I'm sure Kayode has something to say as regards this as an Ibadan indigent this morning. Chief Ladoja has become an Oba, not a chief any longer. It's not an Oba. The former deputy governor finally gets a beaded crown yesterday. The Nigerian Tribune report saying finally Ladoja gets beaded crown, gets new title as Oba of Wekayode.
You notice that out of the three callers, two of them actually spoke about the new Oba in town. Yes, and just as people have been saying, Ibadan is quite unique. And I think it will go down in history now that for you to become an Olubadan, you must have
to be an Oba.
You must have a crown. Put one crown down before you take another one. And this has been the position of some of us that actually opposed that arrangement in the past. That's why will you have to put one crown down before you take the Olubadan crown? But after a close review of the issue, I actually come to the realization that yes, Ibadan is quite unique. So maybe this has also been added to our uniqueness.
Let me. I have some reservations as Gaza, but then we need to go this morning. We need to leave the show this morning. But then probably that will be a conversation for some other time. Coyote is saying, but it's quite unique. Probably that's why they have to come in a unique way again.
Exactly.
This time around. Okay, we'll talk about that more when on some other times. We have this one from Facebook saying, "Good morning, Mr. Tayo. On the CNG buses, the federal government wants to release. It's a good one because I believe if this is not news on the pages of our newspapers as usual, it will surely relieve us as far as transportation is concerned, like the way we have Lavomitutum buses here in the States. God bless Nigeria, amen. God bless Nigeria." And on that note, we'll be saying our bye-byes on the show this morning. I would sincerely appreciate everybody for being a part of the program. Like I will always say, national development is not just about the federal government. It's not about the president. It's not about the governor. It's not about your local government councillor, your local government chairman or your ward councillors. It's not about the Senate, not about the House of Representatives, not about the House of Assembly, not about the ministers, not about the commissioners alone. It's the responsibility of all of us as Nigerians. Developments are cut across all sectors. You that are working in that office, how well are you doing your job for the improvement, for the betterment of that organization you're working for? On your streets, they've known you as a notorious person. How well are you behaving on your streets? Just put it as a back of your mind that it's not just about the government alone. It's a responsibility, collective responsibility of all of us. And on that note, I'll be saying my bye-byes this morning. Thank you very much, Kayode Ajani, for being a part of the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
To everyone who called in and to all the comments we see on Facebook, those who joined us on Facebook, we say very big thank you to you too. 11 o'clock is another time to join me on the radio this morning on the program Periscope. But before then, up next on omoluwabi the 7.7 FM is Sport Rave with Jonathan Ibiliki, right after which Kakakiro will be coming on board. And tomorrow morning again, I'll be back by 7 a.m. on the program Newslands right here on omoluwabi. It is 7.7 FM. Until then, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.